Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Hi there everyone, and welcome to this episode, January 29th, 2021, of Saving My Left Glute. We're going to talk about some exercises, maybe go outside for a run on the bike path, not the roads, pavement. It's a hot day out. It's a hot day out here in Boulder, sunny, warm, not good for skiing, but good for running. So you can see outside here, it's a dang screen door. I broke this the other day. Let's run the clip to the other night. Sandy and I broke the screen door, can't fix it. I got it.
What?
It's loose.
You broke it though.
It was already broken.
No, you broke it. You literally broke it on yourself.
We're gonna get a new one.
Well, now we have to. You broke this time.
Get out of the screen. It's not a fire hazard. Broke on the screen track, and then on the bottom there's wheel plastic sliders, and they're totally broken, so I have to replace the screen door out to the balcony. But instead, for now, we are stuck inside in the pain cave, so I will put on my Coros Apex Pro watch to monitor my strength workout. Enter code SAGE for a free gift item at checkout with GPS watch purchase. Coros Wearables, Coros Global. Alright, one more product plug, sponsor plug for now. Look at these shoes. Check out these kicks. Hoka One One Rincons. Keep them stylish and clean. But for my exercises, they're great. Look at that color. Alright, so I wrote out this daily routine that I was going to hold myself accountable to in 2021. Hasn't happened, but daily we're going to do some stretches, mobility stuff, always good to warm up and get that range of motion. Some are dynamic stretches. And then alternating days I was going to do these different exercises, variations on planks, some special workouts for pubis area, for example, side leg raises, and then on the other day, alternating days, I was going to work more of the back side of the glutes, the hamstrings, doing some deadlifts, weighted deadlifts, single leg, and then some bridges. But we're going to talk about the bridges right now, actually, because I'm going to show you some variations on what I found with that specific exercise. Ooh, rolling back on my ball. Oh, I got a crotch shot there. Alright, so this is a body ball, stability type of ball. You might not have the ball, but in this variation of the bridge exercise, I'm actually going to roll back on my back. I'll try to do this more of a side view so you can see what's going on. And I realize a lot of you might not have a ball like this. But basically the bridge position, like a reverse plank more, because I got my stomach up, I'm flexing my pelvis upwards. And I'm keeping my feet flat on the ground, trying to keep things kind of square. But the idea is to tighten the butt muscles, to tighten the glutes, and to squeeze upward, thrust upwards. And I found that this position with the ball, and another variation I'll show you, is a lot better for activating those glutes. There's some hamstring activation as well, but we're trying to get away from using the quads, the hip flexors, the front part of the legs. We're trying to use the back part of the legs, specifically squeezing those butt cheeks together. And of course there's variations where you could raise up one leg like this, stabilize yourself. I'm so weak I can't even do that. I have trouble doing that. Of course the traditional bridge being on the ground, where you'd be doing like a sit-up and you get going up and thrusting up like this. However, I have trouble activating my glutes more in this position. The other alternative, if you have a raised bench, we like to use the futon here. Probably should take my shoes off, but they're clean. Is to do it like this on a raised bench and to thrust upward. Am I doing this right, babe? Coach Sandy's in the house.
Well, are you talking about like a progression if you can't activate your glutes?
Special cameo appearance from Coach Sandy. Check out her channel, Running Wild to Believe, for more detailed on these types of strength progressions. Although Sandy and I have different areas that we're working on with our running form and total body strength.
But Sage and I were talking about this yesterday because Sage has a huge problem with not being able to activate his glutes on cue. And so I don't know what he's already done in this video, but I was showing him a little progression I learned yesterday on how to activate your glutes. So would you like to help, Sage?
Sure. Basically showing that the different positions of bridges activate the glutes better, and that it's really about releasing the hip flexors, the tight hip flexors, and that neuromuscular connection of thinking I need to squeeze my butt cheeks together, my glutes.
Yeah, so like if you're having trouble activating your glutes, you definitely want to look at your hip flexor flexibility, because if your hip flexors are too tight, you're not going to be able to activate your glutes as well. And so that's something Sage needs to work on. But it's also just being able to activate his glutes whenever he wants. So if Sage wants to come back, and I'll show a little progression. So what I'm about to have Sage do, it's after he probably does a little foam rolling or takes a ball and does some active release on his hip flexors. You could also just start off in half kneeling and go to a posterior pelvic tilt. Actually, this is showing the wrong way. So this way, and you really want to squeeze your glute to get this position. So you could just start off like that.
Oh, like my guitar. My guitar fell. We had an extra table in here. Oh, the GoPro just fell too.
Maybe we need a bigger space.
Struggles of living in a studio apartment, gym, pain cave, basement, storage, ski locker, whatever you want to call this place.
But hey, no excuses, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first thing. Foam roll, active release, maybe do that little activation and half kneeling. And so if Sage lays down, I'll show another little progression. So first thing, lay totally flat, put your hands underneath your butt, and you want to feel your you should feel with your hands that your glutes are activating. So you can start with both at the same time. I feel it at the top of where my hamstring meets my butt cheek, like there's a lot of soreness and tension there. Yeah, and that's something you want to watch with this, is like you want to make sure you're not activating your hamstrings before your glutes, so that's something to pay attention to. And so if you can do this well and feels comfortable with it, the next thing he's going to try to do is activate one glute at a time. So see if you can do that. Looks like you're able to do it. I can see one hip going up at a time, which is what you'd want to see. But I don't know, can you feel it?
Something's activating.
Well, something. What's something?
Quad, hamstring, glute, the femur's rotating inwards a bit.
Okay, so this might already be too much for you then, because you want to be able to isolate that glute activation. And so if you can't do one at a time, then you have to go back and keep working on doing both at one time. You got to be able to isolate the right muscles.
So it's a matter of coordination. It's a matter of coordination, and with the left glute, saving my left butt cheek, being harder, a lot of that's, I think, tied into these neuromuscular connections, the brain-muscle connection, where it got lazy. It got lazy, and because of the tight hip flexor on the front, probably anterior pelvic tilt, other tight muscles and muscle imbalances, my body kind of adjusted and it turned off that glute and it made it atrophy. And so that's why it's weak, that's why it's smaller, that's why it needs to be turned back on, and you gotta use your brain power to think about it, as well as these targeted exercises, as well as the flexibility and dynamic hip motion range of releasing that tight hip flexor, that tight psoas, that tight rectus femoris. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Do you want me to show the rest of the progression? Just sort of
yes,
over a little bit
Coach Sandy.
advanced.
I'll get out of the frame because we don't have enough space in the studio for both of us. But
okay, so to build off where we left off with Sage, to keep up with the progression. Okay, so Sage is still using his hands. So the next progression would be to take your hands away and be able to activate your glutes both at the same time without your hands. And then next step would be without your hands to be able to do one at a time. from here, bring your legs up. You can rotate your pelvis, the more of a posterior pelvic tilt, and then you're gonna do the same thing, both at the same time and one at a time.
So that's almost like a bridge.
Yeah, so and that's the last step of the progression. Once you can isolate your glutes here, then you can start going up into a bridge. And then you kind of do the same thing. You can squeeze, or you can also just test single leg.
Now,
And this is a really good test. Like right here, I can isolate totally with my right glute and hold myself up. But if I start going like this, you know,
twisting.
I'm not. Yeah, that's my glute not working as it's supposed to.
That's what happens to me, see?
So this is like a good sign, like you have something to work on, and maybe you need to go back in the progression or just start with double leg bridges before you can move on to the single leg bridge.
Question though, do you feel your hamstrings? Because a lot of people get hamstring cramps. The hamstring will overwork, overpower the glute.
I am personally someone who doesn't have that problem. Like I don't really ever feel my hamstrings at all. But if you do feel your hamstrings first,
I know I do.
Then you need to go back into the progression and really focus on the isolation. I think as Sage was showing when I walked in, sometimes it's easier to do an elevated bridge. Yeah, and so like find what works for you. The key is to really just be able to isolate the right muscles and not use what you're not supposed to be using.
Thank you, Coach Sandy. Again, check out her running channel. She's got more updates, vlog updates, more elaborate routine and strength exercises, running tips, any service, any distance. Thanks for the cameo.
Of course.
So I'll link to her channel in the description below, as well as at the end of this video. You could subscribe to Running Wild. But yeah, before we go outside and go for a run, it's all about the activation and getting those muscles firing in the correct order. But also making sure you have the range of motion, and bad habits get ironed in, and I think that's part of my problem is years and years of neglecting these things, not stretching enough, running super high mileage, getting older. You get bad habits, and when bad habits form, it's kind of things unravel. There's imbalances, there's tightness where there shouldn't be tightness, basically everywhere on me. And you gotta retrain yourself, so to speak, and these exercises, the form matters. The form really matters because these fine motor, recruiting different muscle fibers and these fine motor skills, even in a non-skill sport like running, will affect your form, and it will affect the forces in not only your efficiency as a runner, your speed, but also being able to withstand all the pounding and not get pain or injury or too much inflammation or muscle strain from running faster and running higher mileage and racing at a higher level. So do these exercises, get the glute activating, then let's get out there. Wow. All right, so nice day out. It's a little snow, but it's melting. And I've been doing a lot of Skimo training. Actually, I could get in a really high heart rate. If you look at yesterday's STRAVA, you could see over 3 hours, average heart rate is about 140 beats per minute. And that kind of stimulus, running 650 mile pace, 3 hour marathon pace on a flat road, that'd be a 3 hour marathon type of heart rate for me, but I did it with a lot less pounding. So keeping the running mileage low, I found with skiing I could get in a lot of vertical, almost 6,500 feet of vertical yesterday, and I'm doing it at high altitude on the ski resort, 9,000 to 10,000 feet of altitude. It's a great cardiovascular training, lower impact, unless I fall on the downhill. And yeah, just really fun. Still learning how to ski, thanks to Hagen Skis for the touring setup. But it's a great sport. I love getting in the mountains at high altitude, grinding up 20%, even steeper grades, practicing my kick turns through the woods, stuff like that. It's a great way to embrace the mountain culture in the winter when you live at high altitude. And we do get dumped on. Even this path will get, you know, a foot of snow and ice at a time. So it's a good break from the monotonous flat pavement running like this great trail.
bike path, downtown Boulder area, but also even our local trails, Green and Bare, they get covered in ice and snow, and you get reduced to a power hike. You can't really run super fast down them, so you don't get that pounding that you would get if it was dry and not winter at altitude. Wiley? Wiley, what are you doing? That is a mangy looking coyote. What are you? Do you have the mange? You okay, Wiley? You need help. Oh, this guy's skinny. It's okay. It breaks my heart. This poor coyote, he looked in really bad shape. Looked really hungry. I don't know what's wrong with him. So yeah, just trying to be patient and smart with figuring out these muscle imbalances, and I think it's really all stemmed from having a leg length discrepancy. 7 mil difference in the femur, that's the upper part of the thigh, between the hip and the knee. You know, my body adjusted over 22 years of year-round running, growing up like that as a child, mild scoliosis. But I think over time, after close to 80 to 100,000 lifetime miles and getting older, these imbalances start happening. Some could be lifestyle factors, sitting too much with bad form, driving, getting bad habits, and they've been neglected. So I'm trying to nip it in the bud and you know, get that glute activated, build up that strength around that hip joint, and hopefully really improve my form and efficiency and speed, but also be able to get in much higher training volume like I'm used to. And yeah, being a well-rounded athlete means being balanced, and with the lift in my shoes, you know, it feels a lot better already. So there's that as well. But thanks so much for subscribing on here. Thanks to the Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible. Yeah, and check out Sandy's channel. We also changed our brand name to Higher Running, so that'll be the new thing moving forward. Sage Running. And thanks to all the Patreon supporters again. Hope people to get our training plans. You can still get them at sagerunning.com. And any service, any distance, you know us. Thanks to title sponsor Hoka One One, keeping the dream alive. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate your support. Hope you're doing well. Stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions. Bye.